Good afternoon and welcome to Padre's Ponderings.
Welcome, 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 wherever you are, we're here. And it's a beautiful day in the low country, chilly willy though.
It's cool. And tonight it's supposed to freeze.
You're pretty toasty in here, aren't you? Got your bathrobe on?
Sweater. It's a sweater jacket. It's not a bathrobe. It's a sweater
really,
jacket.
as long as that?
Yeah.
My sweater's
Covers you up so you stay warm.
My sweater's a little more nifty than that.
My office, you never know. It is freezing some days. So Elizabeth Markle is adjacent to me, and she has a space heater on her legs.
Really?
Yeah. So you don't know, because our office is controlled by a different office that the school uses. So
that's the way it is upstairs with all the
Yeah.
offices here. The thermostat's in the hallway out there, and I'm on this end down here with the high ceilings and everything. So I wear a sweater. It's okay to me, so I don't bother about it. But the ladies on the other end, they have those little heaters underneath their desks that they use.
Yeah.
Risa and Elaine and them. Heidi has one too.
Oh my goodness. Well, did you watch the game last night?
No, I didn't. I went.
So 40 years in the waiting.
I went to bed at 6:30 last night. I came home. When I got home,
wow.
I had a headache, and man, I took me some aspirin.
Did you eat dinner?
I got into bed. Yeah, I had a little bit of dinner, and then I just went and got into bed and read for a while, and then I was gone. Well,
our Georgia friends are happy today.
Is that right?
They are happy today.
They were pulling for Alabama?
No. They are happy today. I watched, I started dozing off, so I would wake up and I'd see the score and then I'd doze back off. And so I missed the second half, which was apparently the best part. But they won, so that was good news.
How are you watching it? I thought y'all didn't have cable.
On my laptop, on YouTube TV. So the laptop was sitting on the bed, so I'm snoozing.
YouTube TV.
YouTube TV. It's amazing what you can.
I think your mom would like to get away from Hargrave, but she hadn't figured out a way to do that yet. So, and I can't help her. It's one of those things. You know what I did this morning? Went to the dentist.
Oh boy.
Yes, sir. Got the teeth of a 20-year-old.
You really do have. You always have
great
had good teeth.
They always marvel at that, and they have a new dentist in the day, and she called me like, "Come and look at this," you know. And then she tells me, I'm about to get ready to leave. She said, "You know, I'm thinking my next birthday is going to be the big one. I'm going to be 60." And it came up because that's when my next appointment is, July the 20th. And that's her. She said, "Oh, that's my birthday. I'll be 60." And she said, I was planning to keep working till you're retired, but I've quit on that now. I don't think I can.
Until you retire?
Till I retire.
Hysterical. Because that date keeps moving.
That's right. So she said, "I don't think I can go that long." I've been with the same lady for a lot of years. Kelly Rizzo was her name at Brian Smith's office. Really nice lady. Real special. So
and you know, everyone should know by now the secret to healthy teeth and gums from you. Original Listerine, the yellow gold color, not the newfangled mint.
Early on, a dentist told my mother my teeth were real good, and I wouldn't have any of those problems that a lot of times children have, and
cavities,
and all that. And she wanted to know where we lived when I was younger, and it was in Florida. And he said that might explain it, that there's a lot of fluoride in the water in Florida, and that research shows that has a big difference on people's teeth if it starts young enough. That, you know, the last thing the lady did today was put fluoride, something, you know, they wipe on your teeth. She put that on there. But they say if that starts early in your life and continues on, that it does have an impact on your teeth.
I think it's the Listerine.
I haven't looked that up to verify that, but that's what she was saying. So, but anyway, I'm blessed to have good teeth, and had a good checkup today. They cleaned them up for me, waiting on me, and that's a good thing. Walk in with my mask on and go back in the back. Everybody's masked up.
Yeah.
Took it off, put it back on, came on out, got in my car.
There you go.
Yeah.
And then you came to the office.
Yeah, came to the office and started getting it. Finishing up all the stuff for not budgeting the year-end numbers and stuff, working back and forth with Regina on that for last year, and then budgeting for this year, working on some projects I got going on there. Got to do Ponderings this week, so I've got the note down there for me to remind myself to do that.
Writing on Thursday.
working on that too.
So
And appointments, we got a lot of people joining.
I know. I talked to two on the phone this morning. Annual meeting is typically February, but we're going to postpone the actual in-person.
Yep.
Probably a good call for lots of reasons.
Yep. It's just, you know,
right
this
now.
stuff is just kind of blowing through here, all this.
And it's not just the Omicron, but it's people just have colds too.
I'm going to get, your mama told me I'm getting a flu shot pretty quick now. But there's some kind of waiting period between that when you're going to have a dentist appointment and stuff, so I do have to wait for another 2 weeks on that. But I'm going to get a flu shot. Get one of those every year. Go to my buddies down there at the pharmacy and pop it to you.
And you're good to go. So on the annual report, that'll be, you're going to, instead of the in-person, you're going to do a video. We'll send that out in the e-news and put it on the website.
Yeah, probably mid-February, but maybe third week in February, something like that. Because I got some big stuff I'm working on too, for out there, you know.
Vision.
But you know, one of the things I was thinking about this morning. I was reading last night about John the Baptist.
Okay.
And it's a real good book about that. Anyway, I was going back to the linkage and how so much of his vocabulary was rooted in the prophets and the Old Testament world. He's the last of the, you know, he's in the New Testament, he's the last of the Old. So much of his stuff was rooted back there. And how people reading about John the Baptist now, if you don't take time to get in there and understand the vocabulary that he's using and the allusions that he's using, you miss what he's saying.
Totally.
And that you don't then understand the conflicts between him and the Sanhedrin and all the rest of it. Because they knew what all that was about. And that's where the conflict, and it just goes right over the top of your head if you're not aware of what the vocabulary he's using means. So anyway, I got to thinking about it. I'm thinking I'm going to write it into Ponderings. This time of year, a lot of people are looking forward, and I'm big about looking forward. But lately, I've been looking backwards. John the Baptist knew from early on what he was called to be. And he spends all his time out in the wilderness. His parents were old to start out with. They died early in his life. There's no mention of them. So you get the picture in there of him as a young man, 12, 13, 14 years. He's on his own in the wilderness, see. Of course, 13-year-old back then was a lot more grown up than a 13-year-old now, see. Mary was probably only 13 or 14 when she had Jesus, but that's another story. Anyway, that from early on, he knew what God's call in his life was. And that was the predicate for how he lived his life. I didn't know until later on what God's call in my life was.
Right.
What if I'd known early? See, what would it be like if you knew when you were 8 or 10, or when you were a jerk in high school? You know, what if you knew what God's calling on your life was? Would it make a difference in the way you lived your life early on? See? It did with him. I wonder if it would have with me.
Well, your first idea of being in ministry came when you were quite young. You just didn't see it as a calling.
I was in the 4th or 5th grade, but I didn't connect anything like that as a calling on my life at all. But what if you knew that for a certainty when you were young? Because we don't, you know. We don't have the angels announcing our birth or anything like that either, not in a way that we're aware of anyway. God's hands in all of creation and everything, but he's not always as vocal about, you know, this child is going to be this. Tell him about it so it runs a straight and narrow coming along. So.
One of the best studies that I've done is going through the Old Testament and the entire Old Testament and seeing how it continuously pointed points to Jesus, and how that all is in play, and the connections aren't always made. You often think of it as separate.
Yeah.
But to understand the New Testament, you have to go back and you have to look at, from Genesis 3 on.
Yeah. And so John the Baptist is raised in the Old Testament world by mom and daddy, who are both descended from the priestly line, and he's into everything happening at the temple. He's into all the prophecies. That's part and parcel of who he was growing up. That was him. Whereas you don't think of somebody like Peter or James or John. See, you don't think about them as being steeped in the Old Testament knowledge. You just don't think about that. Not that he went to school for it, but he was raised with it. They were New Testament kinds of people, but he's the bridge guy who really ushers in the New Testament, I guess is what you would say, the forerunner. But anyway.
Sounds like you need to do a study on John the Baptist for us.
It really is fascinating. I think I know something about all that, and then you read in greater depth than you have before, and it's golly day, there's even more to this thing than I thought there was.
That's the fun part about getting into Scripture and into a study and
so
those aha moments.
Are you in a?
I'm wrapping up one right now.
But are you taking a course now?
I'm not taking a graduate course right now. I needed a little bit of a breather during the holidays and stuff. But doing Bible study with my group, we're wrapping up one now, and it's been really good. It's called Saints and Scoundrels, and it goes through different people in the life of Jesus. And so we did the criminals last week. We did the priests.
So when does that end?
It was really good. Not this Friday, but the following Friday. And I'm not sure what we're going to do next, but we meet on Zoom on Fridays. This is one of my groups. We meet on Zoom on Fridays, and that's really working for this group. So I think we're going to continue.
Can other people jump into that?
Oh, absolutely. Just haven't decided what we're doing yet to advertise it. But
what was women, saints and scoundrels?
It was Saints and Scoundrels.
Men and women.
Our group is women.
No, I mean the
but
people you were studying.
The book was lots of different people.
Okay.
But it was very good.
So what else is happening?
We got a lot going on. A Discipleship Explored started last night. I got to talk to Yvonne Broadhurst, one of the leaders, on the phone this morning. They had to order more books, which is a good problem to have. They had everybody kind of spaced out for safety and that kind of stuff. But she's really excited. They are filled up for sure.
Oh, yeah.
But very excited about what is going to take place there. Great conversations already on the first night. So that was exciting. Our house session was filled up. Beverly Adams leads that on Sunday afternoon. I think it's 7 or 8 weeks.
Tell them what HAL is.
Healing after loss. So if you've lost a loved one, and it doesn't have to be recently, because the grief process is lengthy.
In fact, you really want to have some time between the loss and taking HAL, so that some of the emotions go down, so you can be a little bit more reflective and.
So that's one of our care ministries, is healing after loss and helping people to process that healing. That started on Sunday, and they had a full group filled up. They had 2 spots open, and were concerned they weren't going to be able to have the session. And then on Friday, 2 people showed up. Yeah.
And that's a lot of small group sharing in that particular ministry.
Yes.
And then I think I forwarded an email to you from Don and Carol McCann about home communion. That's another one of those pastoral care ministries. Things are starting to crank back up again now, even though this mess is blowing through right now.
The good part is I think it blows through pretty fast.
Fast breeze.
So that's good. But next week, we've got Josh's ordination.
Wednesday evening.
And that will be streamed and in person, and everybody's welcome to attend. But it will be online as well.
And then the Wednesday after that, Josh starts teaching here.
Right, he will be
and
teaching
that's
right
also in person and streamed. He's going to be teaching on Paul.
Paul, the apostle.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing that and watching that.
And Friday's the men's oyster roast.
This Friday?
Do you eat oysters?
No.
That's not your thing, is it?
This Friday?
No, the 21st, next week. We've got
Friday-
the ordination
Friday
on
after.
Wednesday, and then we've
I
got
see.
the men's oyster roast on Friday, and they're going to have a great conversation about kicking off lots of different small
that's at the
groups
Oyster
in men's
Park.
ministry.
It's not at
It
the-
is. It's not on our property.
Yeah.
It's at the Oyster Factory Park. So right there on the May River. It's a really neat place. Thought about crashing it.
And they've got the tables with the holes in it for you. Drop the oyster shells through it and all that kind of stuff. Yep, that'd be good. I bet they'll have a good group of men there for that. too.
We've had quite a few already sign up.
Yeah,
So
I won't be there for that. I might stop by and say hello, but
no raw oysters
I'm
here.
not much on that. Nope. Now, every now and then, you get one of these seafood platters and it's got some fried ones on there,
That's totally different.
but that's a whole different deal there. You know, the other, that
Deep
slick
fried
stuff.
grit.
I don't
Yeah.
go with that.
But if you know somebody who would like to attend and, or a spouse or something, whoever's watching.
It's for men,
we
but it's
need
not
to-
restricted to
it's for
to our
men.
members.
No, bring a guest. This is a great opportunity to invite somebody, invite a neighbor. But we do have to have numbers in, I think, by next Monday. So that's exciting.
You know, when I mentioned that about fried oysters on a seafood platter, it's been a long time since your mom and I went out to eat anywhere. We just don't do that.
You don't need to.
Your mom is a better cook
Right,
than
that's what I'm
these people
saying.
out there are.
She makes the
There's-
best shrimp and grits. Like, you can't order shrimp and grits at a restaurant if you've had hers.
No. And during Christmas time, I had a biscuit or two. Just
Nice.
nice. Yeah.
Little gift. You know, we always talk about food on this.
You have a problem.
Well, I haven't
That's-
eaten lunch, so
Well, yeah,
I have a microphone right here and my stomach's right here, so I'm like, we talk about food.
Yeah, but you're so
Last
doggone
week-
skinny, you need to be eating some.
Last week was liver pudding.
I was talking to a lady the other day, and she was joining the church, and she talked about how cute Mama was, you know, and how small and petite. And she'd heard her read a lesson in church or something like that. She likes her voice. And anyway, and she was saying, I have to always watch my weight. I'm always working on it. And I said, well, are you below 3 digits? And she said, no, that's my goal, below 3 digits. So that'll be less than 100.
Right.
But she wasn't much taller than your mama. She was about 5 feet. But that's where your mama is. She hangs around that.
We don't talk about women's weight live.
Well, you can't talk about it when you're dead.
No, live. Like, live. You don't ever talk about women's
Well,
weight.
anyway, she's in a good place. On the other hand, when I broke my ribs, I dropped a few. You know, they don't call it pounds anymore.
What is it?
They call it LBs. That's the new hip lingo.
Okay.
I'm trying
So
to
you dropped a few LBs when you
dropped a
well,
few-
let's not break
dropped a
ribs
few
next time to do that.
LBs, dropped 7, boom, like that. Got down to
But you
100.
couldn't move and
I
didn't
couldn't.
feel like eating.
No, I was hurting too bad. 197, svelte. I got this brace on now, looking trim. So I'm thinking I could get, when I'm well, into this week, I'm going to take this brace, move that back part around to the front right here. People pat me up there and I say, man, that guy is in shape. In shape. You know, I never was into that weightlifting stuff. I never was into that.
You didn't have
Some
time
people
for
are-
that. But
Some people do that, but you know.
no, you were working on a farm and lifting hay bales and all kinds of stuff. So that was a practical weightlifting.
Mm-hmm. You remember the family that had the flattened Esher? We went over there
Audrey and Harry Wells.
Audrey and Harry Wells. Harry, in his flattened Esher over there, and he had one here too, he kept an axe with a heavy head on it. It was a bigger than usual head. And when he was sitting watching television, he would lift that, you know, and then he put it in his hand and lift up and down like that just to try to, because he's 90-something, just to, you know, keep in shape, that kind of idea.
An axe?
it was an axe, had a shorter handle on it, but it had a big head. The idea was it was weight. So he just was doing that to keep his arms toned up, I guess, something like that.
You want me to get you a dumbbell to keep by your desk?
No. I use a book. Accomplishes the same thing. You know, you ain't got to be able to lift more than you need to lift.
Oh, we've got some Georgia fans watching.
Yeah,
Kimberly Duke Clark is super excited today. She's a huge Georgia fan.
And they got, I hope they looked out there last night after the game was over with, to look out there and see if there was a star in the east. A miracle had just happened, you know, that idea.
40 years.
Been a while, yeah, 40 years.
40
400 for the other one, 40 years.
40 years, yeah.
But that's good, you know, happy for them. They had a big year this year. The whole year was a big year. Mm-hmm. So that's happy for them.
Yeah, so she's really excited today. She's got red and black hearts.
And she was one with, she was installed in the Daughter of the Holy Cross.
Yes, we had Daughters of the Holy Cross installation at the service on Sunday, and they were all in their red and white. And
yeah, if you
great group of
If you hadn't seen
women.
that, need to go online and look at that. Chapel service this past Sunday and see that. It was a great group of ladies. Mm-hmm. I want to say 11 or 12 were installed, but the chapter now has
like
about 30 people in it. Yeah, it's a big crowd.
But I really liked how, I can't remember the lady's name, you just told me a minute ago, that came from St. Luke's on the
Helga.
island, and she went through the discernment process with our group so that now she can go back to St. Luke's and start a chapter
That's right.
there.
Helga's her name.
And they're big on service, prayer,
Study.
What are we missing?
Service, prayer, study. There's one more. It's a good one, I know.
Kim, pop it in the comments. Service, prayer, study, evangelism.
Evangelism. That's right. I knew that.
Yeah, I did too.
Everybody ought to be big on evangelism.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was a great group of women, and they really are a special group, and they're involved in lots of different ministries within the church as far as service goes. And they do a lot of service within the group.
And her grandchild was here, the
Millie.
little baby that baptized a little while back, Millie. And she started crying at one point in the service, and her daddy took her into the crying room back there. That's a neat thing to have. It was right back in there, and then she settled down. And I talked to him after the service, and he said she settled down when the singing starts. She likes to hear the singing. So she started crying during my sermon.
But she didn't fall asleep.
No, she didn't fall asleep. No, she was wide awake. Yeah, that's a good sermon.
Don't snooze. No time to snooze in 2022.
Right.
That's true.
That's right.
We have a lot of work to do as followers of Jesus Christ, that's for sure.
So how, you got both the troops are back in college?
Classes started
Grace
yesterday.
Is up there. Have they had any foals up there?
No. I keep waiting for a picture. No babies yet.
But it's that time of year.
It's that time of year.
And then Drew back out there on the West Coast?
Back out there. Yep. Classes started for both of them yesterday. So.
Man,
but
children are growing up.
It was nice to have them home for a couple of weeks.
Yep.
Yeah. So now I look forward to, okay, when am I going to see them again?
And then I think Chuck's children have started back to school this week as well.
I think pretty much most colleges started back yesterday.
Yeah. And Charlie not in college yet, but he'd be junior.
All right.
I bet he was probably pulling for Georgia too, wasn't he?
I don't know.
He's big on Green Bay, I know that much. So.
Right, and they're doing well, but I don't know because they're Clemson fans, so I don't know who they'd pull for in the SEC. Probably not Alabama.
Don't know.
They've been
Don't know.
hit hard by Alabama a couple of times.
Even though their coach came from there.
So did
Dabo.
Kirby.
And Kirby.
Amazing. Yep. Some of the interviews and stuff ahead of time on the SEC channel and all like that. It's really fascinating the impact that Nick Saban has had.
He would be in
on
that
coaching and football, all in all areas.
And the pro level, it would be his
He's
counterpart
70.
would be. Yeah. on the pro level, his counterpart would be Belichick, would have
Yes.
a lot of the
And they're good
fellows
friends.
with him. So,
So are you giving him tips? He's 70. He's right spry as well.
like I'm not spry. What,
No,
what
like
was
you
that
are.
that was a
Are you
shot in
giving?
there.
No, are you giving him tips for his longevity? He doesn't have a retirement ahead anytime soon.
But you know, one of the things I said last week, we had the red poinsettias and everything up here, you know. And, your mama watches at nighttime. She's always busy in the middle of the day, so she watches at nighttime. And so she's looking at it. So I looked at, you know, and I had my red sweater and all that kind of stuff. And I told her I'm not going to wear red anymore because it makes my highlights stand out, you know. The sun's bright in here. And so
It's his blonde hair.
But Nick
He's got
wears red
highlights.
all the time. Alabama, Crimson Tide.
He does.
He wears red all the time. Looks good. I notice he's kind of thinning out a little bit, though. So.
Maybe he's got a back brace on. And
No,
he's
I don't
switched
mean
to the
here.
red.
He's thinning out up here.
Oh, up top.
Yeah, back here. From the front, looks okay, but the camera angle from the top, getting a little sparse there. That's another thing. They got Bosley treatments and stuff. He'll fix that up.
Bosley.
There's all kinds of stuff out there now, you know. Yeah.
Oh, Kimberly, thank you
You remember
for
Dr.
evangelism.
Gibbons in Sumter?
Oh, my, yeah.
Dr. Gibbons, yeah. He had, he was, God, that's been
He was old.
40
a long
years
time
ago, yeah. He had one of those treatments done like that, but it wasn't the same kind of thing.
Hair implants?
Yeah, his was like that. It looked like corn. Just popping them up there.
You just never know,
He
friends.
always
You
ate a
never
chicken
know.
salad sandwich for lunch. Always did. Yeah.
Learning something new every day at the Church of the Cross.
And I think that's what killed him. But anyway, I shouldn't say that because I had
What
chicken
did,
salad
what
for
did
lunch
somebody
today.
say about you not too long ago? Somebody who
There's
just
no
recently
telling.
met you and told me he is a hoot. You are a hoot sometimes.
It's kind of,
You can be
that's
scary
one of those-
sometimes, but you're a hoot.
that's one of those words you wonder, what does that word mean? He is a hoot. See, you could go all kinds of directions with that, couldn't you? He is a hoot.
I think you made her laugh.
Might be.
I don't
Might
see
be.
that as a negative thing.
Might be. I don't know what it is. You know where the first time I heard that word hoot?
No.
Was in the movie Patton.
Okay.
Patton. A famous line of his. He said, "I would not give two hoots in hell for someone who lost and laughed about it."
I don't think that she was using the word the same way.
But anyway, that's another story. But that's
She enjoyed the conversation.
well, I'm an enjoyable kind of
But
guy.
that's a great quote.
Yep. Patton was a pretty special guy. Didn't fool around.
No, he didn't, and we're thankful for that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you know, that's one of those things. He died
That's so bizarre.
right at the end of the war.
Car
He would-
accident,
he would
wasn't
have-
it?
Yeah. He would have had a hard time living in peacetime. His whole life had been soldiering and
Talk-
warring
yeah,
and fighting.
purpose,
And
his
some
purpose.
people are born for that. And they just have a hard time when the war's over with. But what do they do? Who am I apart from my guns and soldiers and tanks and all that kind of stuff?
Mission.
So that was a fitting,
All right, did you
fitting
finish?
kind of thing there.
We're going to wrap it up with what you finished. Did you finish the Ulysses S. Grant book? Mm-hmm. You finished Abraham
He
Lincoln?
died, too.
Yeah, he did die.
You know, a lot of those books end that way.
Yeah.
But you know what he
But
died
that
from?
was a really informative one.
You know what he died from? Throat cancer.
Really?
He smoked cigars all of his life. You're hard pressed to find a picture of him unless it's a formal portrait. Any kind of informal picture, you see him with a cigar. And he developed throat cancer
Wow.
and died. And an interesting thing, there's a lot interesting about him, but an interesting thing about him was toward the end of his life, see, back then there was no pensions for presidents. I mean, you just were a civilian after that. And financially, they were in a hard place. And so he never wanted to write about himself or about the war or anything else like that. and he was talked into writing his memoirs. And one of his best friends was Mark Twain.
Wow.
And so the publisher, the man who wanted to do the thing, Mark Twain said, Mark Twain had a big publishing company himself. He said, well, let me see the contract. And he said, this man is just stealing you blind. He said, when you write your memoirs, he said, it will be a huge selling thing. And so he said, I'll publish it for you.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain's publishing company parsed the 4-volume memoirs of Grant, and it sold 1,800,000 copies. He died after he had just finished the last chapter or two. He wrote that when he couldn't even hold his head up. He wrote it. And that provided for his wife for the rest of her life. But just really very special. And it was amazing. He's buried, his service was in New York. He had 4 pallbearers, 2 Union generals and 2 Confederate generals.
Oh my goodness.
So they were all friends. They all went to West Point together.
Right, they all went to classes together.
Yeah, so they were all friends. And he was about reconciling the country and all that. So anyway, he had 4 pallbearers, 2 of 2. And they said over 1 million people lined the streets of New York to watch that funeral procession go by. And said you had the veterans from both sides of it, because he was beloved by both sides, tears everywhere. Said it was really something. But how it typified his life of trying to bring people together.
Well, even the story at Appomattox, at the surrender, how gracious he was to the Confederate Army at that point, and feeding them.
Very special.
Yeah,
so I enjoyed reading that. So now I've got, tonight I will start on my next book.
Okay.
And I read, and then I'll jump back and read. So I'm jumping back to read a book I read in the 9th grade.
Oh boy.
Profiles in Courage.
Oh.
Pulitzer Prize winning.
John F. Kennedy.
By Kennedy. So I'm going to jump back and read that. And then when I get through with that, I'm going to jump back and read another one that I read in high school. It was Uncle Tom's Cabin, Harriet Beecher Stowe.
Yes.
So, and then I'll start moving forward again. But I'm in a reflective mood now. So.
American
Looking
history.
back.
Yes.
I remember that book as being a real good one, the Profiles in Courage. So I'll recapture that again.
Very good.
Kennedy was still alive when he wrote that.
Yeah. That was before he was president. Had to have been.
He was in Congress. He was in the Senate. Yeah.
All right. So there's your reading list. And you're not preaching. Pastor Jonathan is on the historic campus this weekend, and Pastor Nathan will be on this campus this weekend.
I'll be here with him, and Josh will be over there with Jonathan.
But remember the ordination service on the 19th here at 7 if you want to attend, or watch online. We'd love for you to join us in that celebration. Lots of stuff starting up, so check the calendar. We've got leadership if you're interested in being involved in leadership and ministries. I think it's a fantastic, really a good picture of the vision of the church, where we came from, where we're headed, for anybody, really. I've been 3 times and I've learned something new every time.
First session, you get an inside look at who the hoot is.
You're right. You really get to hear his testimony for sure. And your heart and kind of why things are. Josh Hicks told me on Sunday, he said that is the best thing since joining the church. I don't know how many years ago that was, but he said that's the best series, workshop series, to really, truly understand the way we operate, because we're very different than a lot of churches. And the vision and the heart and all that. So if you're interested in leadership training, it's 3 different sessions on 3 different Saturdays, one in January, one in February, and one in, I believe, the beginning of March.
Right.
Just send an email to info@thechurchofthecross.net. We can get you signed up for that. There are a couple of prerequisites, so send an email and then we'll
Right.
talk about that. But
So in between time, don't forget we got worship services this Sunday. Come to the worship services.
yep, in person or online. If you're hesitant about being in a crowd again, that's fine. That's why we have online
right.
offerings for everybody.
That's exactly
So,
right.
Anyway, go in peace to love and serve the Lord.
Thanks
be to God.
See you when I see you. Never doubt God's love for you or mine.